Courage, hope, and recovery. This is what the Canadian Mental Health Association Mental Health Voices Award represents. This award is given to leaders in a variety of areas, whether that's in the area of a faith leader, an entertainer, a sports hero. But they've got the courage to speak out in spite of the shame that's attached to mental illness. Because in addition to being leaders, they also live with a mental illness. And what they do is they end up being champions for all of us in our communities. Those of us who often suffer in silence with a mental illness and haven't got the courage to speak out. But they break that ground and they say it's okay. The Canadian Mental Health Association is proud to present the 2010 Mental Health Voices Award to Shelagh Rogers. And here is her story. Thank you, Shelagh, for agreeing to come out and to speak with us today about your own struggles with depression. And I'm just wondering if you could share with us your early signs of depression when you think back over your life. What did it look like for you?
I read for a living. I often read out loud publicly for a living into a microphone. The sentences would just sort of be dancing in front of me. Words would be scrambling. Working with words became just about impossible. The other aspect of this, which is really hard, is a huge, huge self-loathing and a real insecurity, paranoia. I just lose all bearing. The ground just goes right underneath my feet.
That's a very odd thing for the public to understand, isn't it? Because who we see as Shelagh Rogers is this very vivacious, confident person, and to know that that's what you struggle with when you struggle with depression.
It was like putting on a jacket in the morning and going, okay, I'm in a costume and I will go out and I will perform this role. It became a performance, and I could do the performance. But when the mic was off, I didn't have anything left.
Could you tell me a little bit about how you started your process of seeking help?
In 2003, I had a strange episode. I fainted in my office, and I'd had high blood pressure. I thought, well, maybe this has got something to do with it. I went to a Shoppers Drug Mart. I should have gone right to my doctor or emergency, but I went to Shoppers Drug Mart, stuck my arm in the sleeve, and it was super high, like 235 over 120, which is really bad. I called my doctor. I was very lucky to have a direct line to her. She was a phenomenal doctor. I don't know if she's ever slept a night in her life, but she was available for her patients and said this had happened. She got me into her office. My blood pressure was still high, but not quite that high. And she said, you're not going back to work until we have this under control. After about 3 weeks, I woke up one morning and I couldn't talk. And I also couldn't move off the bathroom floor. I was curled up on the floor, and I could make vocal noises. Mm-hmm. I did a sort of chickeny thing that was a squawky kind of noise. It was very strange. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm becoming a chicken. But it was really a removal of what was hitting me where I lived. My voice is how I've made my living. That with some brain power, one hopes. But after that, I went to see my doctor, and she got me to see a psychiatrist. And he diagnosed me as having unipolar depression. And I have to say that's just one of the most important days of my life. I couldn't believe it myself when he told me that. And it allowed me to start changing things. And it was a time where I could experiment with medication, try and find the right one. And I spoke with someone as a talking therapy as well, 3 times a week.
What obstacles did you face along that road to recovery?
I have to tell you, Bev, The people who told me, buck up, bucko, or you who have so much in your life, how can you possibly be depressed? They're in a different circle of friendship now. They're not at the top tier. And I was astonished that they couldn't understand this. That I think it's a disease, the same way cancer or diabetes or high blood pressure, hypertension, but because you can't see it, I think even some of my closest friends were suspicious that I either wanted time off. Like if I wanted time off, I had lots of time in the bank, this was never an issue. Or I wanted more attention. Really, so those were obstacles, but I also had to learn to put them somewhere else in a lower drawer in my dresser of friendships. The obstacles that I've come across, the workplace, I remember coming back after I broke my ankle, and I could walk, I could do a can-can if I wanted to. And coming back after this depression to me was the mental equivalent, and I wanted people to slap me on the back and say, it's great that you're here and you got over the hurdle. But it was like, as if you touched me or if you hugged me, it was going to be contagious. And I think, people are quiet around you. That's sort of interesting,
yeah,
too.
the silence is really deafening, isn't it?
It is deafening. The silence
is
is
deafening.
Absolutely deafening.
And
Yeah.
the cards are sort of absent, and
Yes.
and the cookies and the flowers.
That's
and
right. Yeah. Where's all that stuff?
those
Yeah,
kinds of
exactly.
things.
It's really interesting. And that's true in some of my friendships as well. I don't expect flowers, but if it had been a physical break of some kind or triumphing over some other kind of ailment, then there would have been something there. And I think this still spooks a lot of people.
For many years, you hosted Sounds Like Canada, and I was a big fan of Sounds Like Canada. But from those years of experience, do you think, given your experience with depression, that Canadians' attitudes are changing towards mental illness being an illness?
Yes, I think they are changing, but I think they're not changing fast enough. I think public organizations, the media, can probably do a lot more. And the other thing is, if 1 in 5 Canadians has a mental illness or is dealing with some kind of challenge in that aspect of their lives, then people are starting to get it. They're going to be getting it whether they want to or not. So I just think we have to create a safer place for this kind of dialogue.
So it's sort of like your work in literacy. When I think about it, as you're talking, I'm thinking, all right, so are we talking about literacy?
I think we are talking
public?
literacy. We are absolutely talking about mental health literacy, for sure, for sure.
So why do you support the Canadian Mental Health Association? You've agreed to be a patron for us in BC.
I think that everybody wants their community to be better than it is, to be stronger than it is, and to be more compassionate than it is. And I think by supporting the CMHA, you can actually achieve that. I think that with all that beautiful necklace of CMHAs across the country, we're actually building a better Canada, and that so many people around the world think that this is the big compassionate country, and maybe we can really make it so by supporting the CMHA.
Hello, my name is Ken Martin, Chief Executive of Pacific Blue Cross. At Pacific Blue Cross, we are proud to support the Canadian Mental Health Association and honored to call them our community partner because we believe their work strengthens our local communities. We are encouraged by the stories of recovery presented through the Mental Health Voices Award. These stories are possible because of the work done by the Canadian Mental Health Association, both at the local and at the provincial level. The CMHA is building a better Canada. We hope that you will join us at Pacific Blue Cross in supporting the Canadian Mental Health Association in your community. Thank you very much.